All right, welcome to another episode of the Sacred Union Blueprint
Hmm.
podcast.
The
The
podcast.
podcast.
This is
Okay.
it.
So I'm excited to have this conversation with you because this has come up on one of our reels. And the reel where I talked about like respect and respect in a marriage and not feeling like you have respect for your partner. And it went viral. And we will link the reel below this episode for y'all. But I thought it was important that you and I, babe, have this conversation because it's what went viral is the comments underneath were like a majority of people were saying, if you don't respect your man, then you don't love him.
Mm.
And so my question to you, and then we can have a conversation on this and then, you know, figure out the answer or many answers
Mini.
is do you feel that in order to love someone, you have to also respect them? So everybody in the comments was saying, well, then you just don't love him if you don't respect him. I was talking about, like just using references. I wasn't talking about respecting you or anything. It was just a viral reel, right?
Yeah.
But almost everybody was saying, well, if you don't respect him, then you don't love him. And do you think that that's true? Do you think that in order to love somebody that you have to respect them?
I think it's seasons, right? There's actions, there's seasons, there's time, there's moments. And I think respect is something that can come and go and be very fluid when love is something that's different. That's unconditional. That doesn't go anywhere. That doesn't change based off an action or something someone says. You love deeply and profoundly, and that's not changed based off of respect. Like respect is something, if you do something that is disrespectful, you're not respecting me, right? So does that mean I stop loving you in that moment because you disrespected something? No, I don't think those are connected. I think they're two different things, and you can't base one thing off the other like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then somebody else said, well, you can love them like your kids, right? But you can't be in love with somebody. And then my question to them back was, well, then what does being in love versus just love mean? Right. So for me, I do feel the same that you do. I feel that you can fully love someone, but in any given moment, not have respect for them or not be respecting them.
Yeah.
Right. Um, and then, of course, we're speaking obviously for the Sacred Union Blueprint, we're speaking specifically for people in unions, marriages, relationships, like romantic relationships. But of course, like outside of that, like, like if your kids are disrespecting you or whatever, they still love you. They're just being disrespectful, right? And there are seasons in, like you said, relationships, especially there's seasons where if you're going through a hard time, right, there's many a times where I know deep down like I didn't respect you
Yeah.
and you felt that, and there were times where you didn't respect me, right?
Yeah.
And but we still had, like you said, that unconditional love. So I think it's more or less of being aware of our patterns when we are disrespecting people, because a lot of people were like, well, you don't disrespect people you love. And I was like, who are you people on this Instagram reel? I'm
Yeah.
like, what reality are you living in? It's a lot of times the people you disrespect the most are the ones you love the most, right? To me, like just like you are agitated or irritated by the person that you love the most, right? Because you have all that karma, and they know how to push your buttons. They know the intricacies in and out of you, right?
Mm.
So like this whole like facade of like, to me, this is our opinion, obviously, but like to me, it's like respect and love aren't synonymous, like
No,
aren't the
they
same
don't.
thing.
Yeah. And as you were talking, what kind of came up for me is, we always talk about anger's just the mask, right, to
Mm-hmm.
what's deeper. And I almost feel like that's similar with feeling disrespected.
How so?
Okay. So, for example, if Harrison disagrees with me or like talks back, my first thing is, oh, well, that's disrespectful.
Hmm.
But in reality, that's just me being challenged and I don't like it, right? Because I didn't have that safety as a kid where I could challenge my parents.
We
So
have a whole episode on that
yeah,
coming.
for
We have, so
sure.
don't you be giving away our next episode. No. But we have a whole episode on that exact thing. Like we have some conscious parenting advice to give, and it's exactly down that avenue.
But I think within relationships where what's popular, so to say, for a lot of men to feel quote unquote disrespected, and this may be for younger, maybe, but this has always been something that I have loved so much about you that I've never had within a relationship before is how you dress
Mm,
and how you present yourself out in public.
mm,
So, previous relationships, I would always feel disrespected, right? That's the
mm,
first that would come up because either going out to a club or wearing things that are very provocative, where that's just the girl expressing themselves, but it's always deeper, right? They were
mm,
wanting attention because maybe I wasn't giving it. However, but the disrespect, how I felt that, where if you dig deeper it was just jealousy, and there's a lot of things hidden underneath that, but that's something I've loved so much about you is how you conduct yourself in public and how you don't crave attention from others, and I feel so respected
mm,
from you
mm-hmm.
because the way you carry yourself like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And I also want to say, though, that, and as soon as you said that, I was like, there's layers, right? Like, I don't know, we're not uploading the full videos, but like, I've got my slitted skirt with my leg hanging out, sitting outside on our patio right now, back porch, talking, and a little bit of cleavage. But like, as you're saying that, I'm like, everybody's level of, like, say, that level of respect for a man
Mm-hmm.
is different because some would say, you look at my Instagram and you've taken beautiful, if y'all don't know, those of y'all listening, Danny's my photographer and my videographer. And so all those beautiful photo shoots that you see me do, Danny's pretty much the guy behind the camera. There's been a few over the years where I've had some girlfriends do it, um, but then I post them and I've got like the bodysuit on or like some kind of like sensual look, right? Because it makes me feel good. But I also think what you said, like, so what I'm saying is some people might look at whether my Instagram or how I'm even dressed right now. If we went out and the wind blew, I've got this beautiful skirt that has a slit all the way up to my hip, and obviously covered underneath. Then there's going to be people that would look at that and go, oh my God, I would never let my wife dress like that. Or I would never dress like that. That's so disrespectful. And so I think the point that I'm making is that level of whatever it is, number one, the energy's pure between us. You
Mm-hmm.
know my heart. I'm never looking for external validation, especially from men. Like, I've got the biggest RBF face in public when I just don't do that. That's not I'm super loyal, never think like that. But also, like, we have such pure energy. My intentions are pure, right? But everybody's level of that could be different because there are people, I mean, they've said it on Instagram, people saying all kinds of things. But like, so I think that's important to have. I think when you have pure energy and clean energy between you and your partner, and each other's hearts are completely pure for each other, the intentions are pure for each other, that like a woman can dress however the hell she wants to dress because it's an energy. So for me, it's like, I don't dress the way I dress or don't dress the way I don't dress for you.
Yeah.
It's for me. I dress how I feel good. I dress in a way that makes me feel confident, and also knowing that there is a level of like classiness or modesty that I do want to represent as a 41-year-old wife and mom, business owner. But also, I'm a divine feminine alchemist, and I'm a healer, and I'm a spiritual guide, and I'm, sensual and sexual. And like, that's for me though, and for you, right? It's
Yeah.
not for anybody else.
So, and I think that's where the importance of looking within your own relationship and not outside of it for comparison, right? Because it's very subjective. Like you just said, what you're wearing now, I'm comfortable and confident with,
Right.
right? But what if I had things that I hadn't unpacked and I hadn't healed and I haven't looked over, which triggered a lot of my insecurities, right? So it's subjective. So I think it has a lot to do with the partner that's feeling those things. It's like all the messiness brings up work, right? So it's like if that's bringing up something for me, that's the beauty of the work, is it's showing you what's coming up is what you kind of need to sit with and address a little bit. So I think the biggest piece of advice is don't look outside of your relationship to find the standard of what it should be, right? It's purely within your own container, because I've seen it on social media. Like there's some relationships I've seen that the woman or the man's doing something and I look at it and there's no judgment. I just know I wouldn't be comfortable in that position, or if you did some things like that. But more power to them, because what that shows is they've had the conversations, they've had the talks, they've had the deep, meaningful moments to express themselves of what they want and desire, but also with what they're uncomfortable with. And when you have those talks, it doesn't matter what happens outside the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or what people say, as long as the people in the relationship are comfortable with it, that's all that matters.
Right. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for anyone listening to this right now. It's important that you have these conversations, because a lot of times, though, like think about it, like if you don't have clear expectations around respect and what respect is to you,
Mm-hmm.
okay, then you're going to continue to chip away at each other's self-esteem, or resentment will start to build, and it just builds and builds. And so that's when the passive aggressive digs come out. That's where the arguments can blow up, and all this stuff. And it's not even just how people are dressing, it's how you talk to each other. It's how you interact with each other. It's how you treat each other in public. It's like literally having these conversations for setting the expectation, right? Like you and I have had these conversations, and I didn't even expect this. That's what I love about this podcast, is like it's just like I didn't expect it to go into any of this, but it's so fun. We've had conversations like, especially with our work in the divine feminine, divine masculine polarity work, of like when we're out in public, obviously, like you're the leader, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you're the masculine front, you're the leader. In conversations, there's times where we've had our conversations around expectations, around, like we talked about this in the communication module, but about, like not interrupting, or, me not leading the conversation when it's very clearly a conversation that you need to be leading, right?
Yeah.
So these kind of expectations have been set for feeling like you are being respected as the man, and me feeling like I'm being respected as the woman. And then, of course, everything else when it comes to respect, honoring each other, staying loyal, all these like no brainers. But it starts with the little stuff, and really making sure that what respect means to you, I'm fulfilling, and what respect means to me, you're fulfilling.
Yeah.
That's a huge aspect of creating sacred union, and making sure that that respect is really, because when you feel respected, you do feel loved. You do feel adored, cherished, valued, honored, right? Because when you don't, though, and again, going back to our original question, are love and respect synonymous? No, but when you aren't being respected, you don't feel very loved.
Yeah.
Period. And so you can love somebody all day, but if you're not respecting them, I promise they're not feeling that love.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And it makes me think of how many years we went without having these conversations,
Yeah.
and how much resentment was built up, or how much, like for me, how much I sat with thinking it's me, like there's something
Mm-hmm.
wrong with me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And until we were able to create a space where it felt safe enough for us to come together and have these conversations, that's when our relationship completely changed. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I love about us now, is it's easy for us to have those check-ins. It's easy for us to wake up in the morning and ask, like, what can I do best to serve you so you feel seen and loved today?
Right.
Just that simple question in the morning to start it off is something that can change relationships dramatically.
Yeah. And I think that's so beautiful too, because it's what we're teaching in the Sacred Union Blueprint, in the program aspect,
Yeah.
is what building trust and sacred communication, and which then, there's all the modules, but those two modules in particular, when it comes to respect,
Mm-hmm.
is being able to communicate your expectations without judgment, without argument, without blowing up. And then also respect is continuing to honor and respect somebody over time builds trust.
Yeah.
And when you can trust somebody, then you respect them even more. It's just like this whole spaghetti, bowl of just how everything just runs together.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a beautiful example to set, especially if you have kids.
Right.
Like for Harrison, when we talk about respect, it's
Mm-hmm.
yes, we want him to respect us, but at the same time, we don't want to create fear and respect with kids are two different things.
For
And I
sure.
think that it's goes with relationship too. Like I don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
something out of fear of you're going to get mad. Like I want to do something because I respect you and it's the right thing to do, right?
Right.
And I think that's a conversation to have as well. But it goes back to creating that safety within
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Yeah, and I think it starts with obviously doing all the work in the Sacred Union Blueprint, like the program aspect, the meat and potatoes of it. But really, if I could give any piece of advice to anyone listening right now, is to sit down with your partner. Use this as your Sacred Union homework. Like for today, when you listen to this, like what makes you feel respected and honored and cherished and valued, i.e. loved, right? But
Mm-hmm.
also like that respect thing, like what makes you feel like disrespected?
Yeah.
And it could be as simple as, like, I know for us in the back in the day when we started this work, like you probably we've communicated like, I don't like it when you interrupt, or I don't like when you talk for me.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you didn't use the words disrespected, but that's what it is. Like you're feeling like not in your, you're feeling kind of demeaned
Yeah. Not in my
or
power.
emasculated,
Yeah.
right? So it's like having these conversations with your partners, y'all, and what are your expectations? What makes you feel respected? What makes you feel disrespected? And how can you um, look at these things? Now, with that, there may be something that makes your partner feel disrespected. Let's use the clothes thing for. So, right.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a client, and they were her and her husband, now divorced, unfortunately. He hated the way she dressed to go work out. She would just wear leggings and a sports bra like I do.
Mm-hmm.
But he thought she was going to flirt, to be seen.
Right.
Turns out he was cheating on her.
Right.
So he was projecting, right? And I'm not saying, for anybody listening, that doesn't mean if your partner doesn't like the way you dress that he's projecting or she's projecting. That's not what I'm saying, but this was this case for this. But she knew in her heart that she wasn't doing that. And she was like, this is what makes me happy. Like, you have to trust me. Like, I feel good in my body, So that's another part, because you don't want to just have this conversation. And if your partner's like, well, that makes me feel disrespected, let's get to the core. Like you said, like, what is it? An abandonment wounds, jealousy, those kind of things, because you may not want to change how you dress because it has nothing to do with what they're feeling triggered about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's again, you can just go deeper and deeper
Yeah.
and deeper, because then it's the conversation of, okay, well, why do you feel this way? Well, let's get to the core of why you feel this way, because I love you and I'm not going to change how I am or something that I really love to appease you for this. And it's not that I don't respect you, because I do, because no fiber of my being is doing this to be disrespectful to you. Right. So there's the deeper work to really uncover, okay, what does he or she need to heal within themselves so they're not feeling disrespected? And the clothes thing is just an example.
Yeah, absolutely. And, everybody listening to this, hopefully they've already hit the communication part within the program, because that will play a huge role in how this conversation goes, right? Because if you go into this and your guard is up and you immediately get defensive, like that can be a hailstorm ready to go off,
For
right?
sure.
Because it turns into arguments and defense, like all your things will come out. So again, when you go into these types of conversation, it's not letting it be driven by emotion, but with compassion and like understanding that it's coming from a place of love, and they're just trying to express how they feel or how it makes them feel. And you're just navigating this together. Like it's not a fight. A fight's not to win, it's to learn and it's to evolve together. So I think when you go into these types of conversations, like that's how it needs to be approached.
Yeah. And again, dive into that sacred communication module, because as we've labeled it, that's the foundation of everything in this program and in this continuous journey. And like Danny said, it's a continuous journey, and there's always a new level. Danny and I have been doing this work for years together. over 5 years together at this point. We've been doing this kind of work, but really, y'all know our story deeply almost 3 years. And every week there's a new level. Every week there's a deeper conversation or more open sharing or more vulnerability or more depth or more connection or more love that's accessed. Like, and it's just a journey.
Yeah. I will say, after sitting with emotions and past and just all the things, right, that we've healed from and we've talked about,
Mm-hmm.
I will say I feel respect is the number one thing in the relationship that drives me and pushes me to be the best man I can be
Mm,
more than anything, even
mm,
over sex. Like,
mm.
even over sex, because at the end of the day, if you think about it, what's left in the relationship when you strip away all the things like that? So, God forbid, and it's not going to happen, but if I were to get injured on the job and
Mm-hmm.
I'm paralyzed from the waist down and I can't
Mm-hmm.
have sex,
Mm-hmm.
I can still receive respect,
Right. Which
right?
makes you feel loved.
Right. So
Right.
regardless of all the other bullshit in the relationship, as men, when you come home from work, what do you crave? Respect. You want to
Mm-hmm.
feel seen. You want to feel appreciated. You want that respect. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
sex is nice, but that respect is such a loving feeling of a man fulfilling his purpose within the relationship. Sex can't give you that.
Yeah.
Sex is something that I'm giving you, and yeah, it's maybe the best 2 minutes of your
Oh,
life.
whatever.
But, at the end of the day, the sense of purpose and the sense of fulfilling that purpose as a man
Mm.
is something that cannot be replaced with an orgasm by any means.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's huge. Men are very purpose driven. And when we feel respected, when we come home and we feel that we are looked at as the king of the house, like that, a man will crawl on broken glass for miles and miles to bend over backwards to make sure his queen is taken care of when
Right.
he feels respected.
And that's exactly, again, circling back to our, I love how this has just come full circle over and over again, that we feel when we are respected, men and women, but I love how you're speaking to men. Like when y'all feel respected, you feel loved.
Mm-hmm.
When you feel adored and cherished, for y'all, what just came through too, and I didn't expect this to be this long. This is our first like podcast episode outside of the program, and it's so good. I'm just, oh, I hope y'all love it. That y'all, to feel respected, need to feel valued. And that's what equates to y'all feeling truly loved. I feel like men, especially, y'all have that core need to feel valued.
Yeah.
And us women do too. Ours usually is more in the form of like feeling adored, feeling like cherished, feeling, and I'm speaking from my own personal experience. Like when I feel loved when I feel like I'm like everything to you, like cherished, adored, and valued, right?
Right.
But like it's almost like you just see me as this special little princess. Like that's how I feel loved, And like, and a lot of times for women, for me, that's words of affirmation, that's communication, that's you know, and we've talked about the love languages in the program, but for me, I think it's just a different energy for men and women, I think.
So what is amazing about that is when
Mm-hmm.
you feel most loved
Mm-hmm.
is when I treat you like that, right?
Right.
But that's also such a gift for a man to be able to do that, where you have so many women nowadays that I don't need no man, I'm this
Yeah,
strong
the
independent.
feminist.
So you're
Yeah.
taking away that opportunity for a man to feel of his highest power as that king, as that
Mm-hmm.
masculine energy of the home, right? So
Mm-hmm.
a man has to feel, I don't want to say needed within the relationship, but he has to feel like he is bringing value to it,
Valued.
that if he walked away right now, you would not be okay. And what I mean by that is, if something broke in this house, your
Mm-hmm.
brakes went out on your car, you're not going to be able to change it.
Mm-hmm.
I would change them,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's service and purpose within the relationship of roles that only I can fulfill.
Mm-hmm.
And when we don't feel that, when the women step into that masculine energy and we don't
Mm-hmm.
feel that there's anything that they can't do, like there is no sense of purpose for a man. So
Yeah.
I love how beautiful you've been able to step back
Yeah.
and allow me to serve you in that masculine role and in that king energy, which in return makes you feel like that princess.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's going to come in an episode when we talk deeper about that, because I have a whole thing to talk about on that soon too. I feel like we've got so many good juicy episodes
Yeah.
coming. Oh my gosh. Okay, loves, let's wrap up this episode, and you tell us, like, in your communities, in Soul Up or the Sacred Warrior, jump in the community and we'll start a conversation about this. And also, you know, y'all have this conversation. What does love and respect mean to you? Is it synonymous? Does it look the same? What does it feel like? What are your expectations? And really dive deep into these conversations and explore together what that looks like. And it's going to be ever evolving. And as you come across things in your day with your partner and y'all are out and he does something or she does something that makes you feel some type of way, don't freak out. Don't pop off. Don't get passive aggressive. Hold on to it. When you have a moment, say, hey, whenever you did this, this happened here. This feels like this,
Yeah,
right?
remember our little code words? We had so many code words when
Yeah.
we first started out. Like if you were to interrupt me or something like I'd have a code word or a look or
Yeah.
touch your leg,
A
and it's
look.
like that signal,
Now he
right?
just calls me out, but it's fine. But I like it. But it's like, yeah, have a code word or a look or something. Danny and I, like he said, you can't see us unless it's in a clip somewhere, but like he would just like touch me in a certain way or he'd tap me 3 times. Um, and I would do the same thing to him, right? So set yourself up for success by having these conversations. Be proactive about this work is so important. And we cannot wait until we share the next episode. We will see you soon.
Y'all have a good one.